Konnichiwa, it's Risa Pizza, and I'm a product designer working at a startup in LA. Product design is a fun job, so by doing this video, I wanted to show you all the fun moments and also the challenging moments I faced throughout the day. I will also talk about what I keep in mind to ace all my design reviews and prototyping, so if you are looking for ways to level up your design process, make sure you watch until the end. Let's get started. Because I'm Japanese and English is not my first language, I practice English while listening to a podcast. These are the top 3 podcasts that I listen to. So the first thing I do is I look at my calendar and I prep for each meeting. When I started off my career, I hated meetings. I would get nervous in front of everybody. Even if I had great ideas, I would struggle to put that into a concise sentence. Oftentimes, I would never speak throughout the whole meeting. One day, I noticed that was because I was not prepared. To make sure that I'm fully prepared, I create a sticky notes for each meeting in Figma. The top section is for me to write down the notes so I know exactly what I want from this meeting. The bottom section is where I write down what I think is important for the successful meetings, and at the end of the day, I come back to this and track how much I was able to do as I planned. When I'm attending meetings, I always try to say at least one thing, because I believe that designers should have a seat at the table, and if you don't say anything throughout the whole meeting, your contribution will be limited, and maybe you won't be asked to join the next meeting. Another thing I try to do in the morning is to post interesting article links or products that I thought was interesting in the Design Inspiration channel. I have this Figma workspace where I gather all the screenshots and write down all the insights I found, and I post them in Slack. It's time for the first meeting of the day, Standup. Our pod meets every morning to check in, see how everybody's doing, and making sure that everything is on track. I always try to add a positive note when I'm giving my updates, new insights I got from user research, or what is exciting about the new feature that I'm designing. Sometimes I just say dad jokes that are related to design, like, what's your favorite city? Opacity? Hey, what's up? So now the stand-up is done and I have a couple of minutes until my next meeting, so I just thought I should give you a tour of my work desk. Because I want to focus on the design task, I always have the Figma file open in this monitor and nothing else. And if I need to Google something or look at some of the Slack messages, I will use the MacBook here. And I've got to tell you about this cool plugin called Magnet, which allows you to move screens from one display to another. Watch this. Isn't it cool? Last but not the least, I cannot tell you how much I love adjustable standing desk. It goes up and down with a single tap, and I cannot live without it. The next meeting, which is starting in 10 minutes, is a Triad meeting. A lot of the tech companies structures their product and engineering team in a pod structure. Each pod is responsible for a certain aspect of the product. My pod is responsible of engagement. Every pod has a triad leader, which is a PM, designer, and a dev lead. Triad meeting is a very important time for design, business, and technology stakeholders to get together and discuss the next priorities on our roadmap, strategize our next move to bring the most value to the product with the least amount of time. Most of the time we eat leftovers, but sometimes we go out for a walk and get lunch. Next up is a design review on a new feature. If it's a small update, I usually share the progress through Slack or sending a video via Loom. This particular feature is quite big and we need to have the design finalized by the end of the day, so I set up a meeting with the stakeholder, which involves Chief Product Officer and Head of Design. So let's see how it goes. The design review went really well. There was some feedback on the language and the navigation here and there, but I can totally update that and hand it off to the engineer by the end of today. I like to keep my Figma file organized because it helps me throughout the meetings. I quickly cover today's goal with the bullet points of discussion points, and then I go over the goal of this particular feature in a single sentence. I read a couple of quotes from the actual users. This really helps us look at the design solution from the user's perspective. I organize the Figma file by different user stories, and I have a title for each flow supported by the user goal. Next up, it's product time. This is the meeting where we show the entire company the new features that are coming out.
Welcome to Product Time, the weekly time where we show you cool stuff. Everything's made up, the points don't matter.
Product time was the last meeting of the day, so for the rest of the day, I got to do some designing. The mouse that I'm using is called MX Master 3 by Lucky. It has a thumb wheel which lets you scroll horizontally. In my opinion, it's so much more usable than Magic Mouse. This is my product design team. Hello!
Hey.
That is pretty much what my day is like, working from home during quarantine as a product designer. But sometimes we have a company social event. Yesterday, my coworker hosted a Zumba class because it is a Hispanic Heritage Month and we wanted to celebrate that. I hope this video gave you a better idea of what a product designer does. Yes, it is a very challenging job, especially if you're trying to do that in your second language. But it's definitely worth it, and there's really special moments here and there. One of the favorite moments recently is when the engineer came up to me and said, "Risa, this is the kind of design that makes me want to build." And I thought that was pretty cool. We are the ones that can identify the core problem and come up with a creative solution which can delight the user. Thank you for watching Risa Pizza, and please leave a comment if you have any questions and tell me about what your day is like. Don't forget to subscribe because I'll be posting more about product design and tech.